Welcome to the channel. This is a Python tutorial on variables. So variables come into three main parts, which are string, integers, and floats. So a float pretty much is any decimal, anything that contains a decimal number or a fractional number. And now the integers are just whole numbers from negative infinity, 0, and positive infinity. And strings are just really any variable that contains a letter. So first off, if you want to initialize a variable, you pretty much just set it to whatever you want. This one is a integer, and if you want to display it, we'll do print number. You get 0. Because number equals 0, print number, and there you have it. If you want to, let's say, increment it, you can have number equals number plus 1. Print that, and you get 1. Because you have number equals 0, 0 equals 0 plus 1, you'll get 1. Now, doing equals number plus 1 all the time could be like a little bit of a hassle. So what you could do is number equals 1, and then let's see what happens when we print that. Now we should get 2 plus equal. It's the same thing as saying number plus 1 right here. You just increment it by 1. If you want to increment it by 2, then yeah, we can do the same thing and you get 3. Now, you can do the same thing with minus, but for this one, you could also do multiplication. So number equals number times 2. I'm just going to copy that just to make it faster. You're going to get 6. It's just times 2. And the same thing from the other case, you can just do times equals 2. Want to do it with division? Let's copy this. Boom, it works. And because we did division, it's going to set it to a float. And we got 3.0 here. Let's just run that back to the top. You get 3.0, which is a float. Now, if you want it to be an integer, then just do int, and it will give you this value here. It will not even round up. So it will disregard this. If this was like 3.9, it won't give you 4. It'll give you 3, just like that. And that's because we initialized it as an integer. But we can keep it as a float. You don't even have to put float. Like if you wanted to put, let's say, this number 6, and you want to make it 6.0, you can float that number just like this. And you get 6.0. Okay, so that's floats and integers. Now, let's say we had a variable which is called name, and we want to name it, let's say, Larry. Now we can print our name, and it will say Larry right down here. Cool. That's how you print a string. That's pretty simple. So if you want to add on to it, just like we were before with our numbers, you just have to do name plus equal. And let's say I want to add space CS. Let's say that. There you go, name. And you get Larry. Do this one here. You get Larry. You add the CS. And now the CS will be part of the string name. Added a space and a CS, and boom, there you have it. Now, let's say I want to do name times equals 3. Now, let's see what happens when that's printed out. Exactly. So you have Larry plus the space CS, and it's pretty much just going to replicate that 3 times. Now, if I put a space here, it's going to have the spacing like that, but it doesn't in this case, so everything will just be connected to itself the way it was left here. Okay. Now, there's also something called Boolean, which is another type of variable. Now, pretty much, Boolean is something that is stored as a true or false. So let's say the true is our variable, and we call it true. Now we can print, what? We can print true, and we'll just get true. This isn't a string. This isn't a float or an integer, obviously. This is a Boolean. So if I say false, it's going to be false. So it's either a yes or no. So let's say we have, going back to the idea of setting things that are, let's say, integers as floats or floats as integers, we can do, let's say, a variable called n1. Like we'll say that's an int 8. So that's an integer 8 and n2. This is a string of 8. Okay. Now let's print both of these. Do n1 and we'll do the same thing. N2. Now you're gonna get 8 and 8. But the only difference is that this is a name or it's actually just a string. It's a string, so we're printing out text pretty much. And this is a straight number right here. That's that. Now, let's say we did the multiplication trick again, where I got 3 of those and I got 3 of these. Now, as an integer, 8 times 3 is just going to be 24. But as a string, 8 times 3 is going to be, well, let's find out, 3/8. But if this was a float, 24.0. That's the difference between an integer and a string when you decide to initialize it differently. Okay, so that's all I have today for variables in Python. Thank you for watching.